Hello and greetings to everyone. Today we will be analyzing Civil Services Prelim Examination Paper 2021. Thank you for your amazing response to the videos made on Civil Services Examination Paper 2022 and 2023. If you have not watched it, please go back and watch it after watching this video. Let's begin the analysis of 2021 Civil Services paper. Here we can learn that how can we apply the elimination tricks that were given in the earlier video. So let's begin. So here in question number 1, we can see that it was a statement based question. The governor of a Reserve Bank of India is appointed by the central government. Okay, certain provisions in the Constitution of India give the central government the right to issue directions to the RBI in public interest. Okay, third one, the governor of RBI draws his power from the RBI Act. So the Act is mentioned where UPSC can play. So now, from our experience, that whenever there is a term known as Constitution of India defines, or there are provisions given in Constitution of India which are most of the times UPSC plays it as a wrong option. So applying the similar trick, we can arrive at option number B, that is 2 and 3 only, as we are assuming that this option to be correct, that is option number 2. However, there is a little disclaimer that I want you to know, that when we were appearing in 2021, this paper was comparatively difficult when the preparation of 2020 was going on and the materials available in 2020. This was a pattern changing paper because there was more focus on factuals and some abrupt questions were asked, such as from sports. Even ancient and medieval history was also abrupt. So this paper was comparatively difficult compared to earlier papers. So that demanded that you should restrict your attempts and focus on accuracy, and that's what we were going to do in this paper. Now, moving ahead with question number 2, that is, with reference to casual workers employed in India, consider the following statements. First one, all casual workers are entitled for employees provident fund coverage. Okay, all casual workers are entitled for regular working hours and overtime payment. Okay, third one, the government can by a notification specify that establishment or industry shall pay wages only through its bank account. Now, when we see these statements in isolation, that all casual workers are entitled for employees provident fund coverage, we need to see that it should be balanced with what is the opposite of casual workers, that is formal workers, and formal workers mostly have the EPFs. Otherwise, if all casual workers are having EPF, that is employee provident fund, it would be very difficult for the employers to employ them. That is why I am negating this option. But if you go by trick, that if there is all and there is extreme statement, you might be facing wrong option here. Why so? You need to read the statement very carefully, that all casual workers are entitled for regular working hours and overtime payment. Now, apply your thinking. If all casual workers are not entitled for regular working hours and overtime payment, it would amount to like very extension of overtime, and it may cause human right violation as well. So we are taking the opposite of the statement and saying that this cannot happen. So that is why this statement is right. So when judging a statement, you need to see if the statement is making sense or not. Just by blindly applying elimination tricks can fetch you negative marks as well. So that is why I am negating this statement. That is, the first statement is negated and second statement is taken as correct, and the third one is correct because government can by notification specify such thing to have more transparency in wage payment, and this makes a logical sense. So that is why we arrive at an option B, that is 2 and 3 only. Now moving to the another question, that is question number 14, that is with reference to water credit. So there is a term mentioned here, water credit. This was not in news. However, we can decode this term. Just as in previous videos, we decoded rapid financing and stability and growth pact in respective years of 2023 and 2022. Similarly, in 2021 as well, there was a term known as water credit. Nobody knew this term, but we can make a sense of this term. So this includes water and credit, right? So water is something related to water, and credit means someone is giving credit for it, that is lending or something else. So similarly, now with this understanding, we are reading the statements. That is, it puts microfinance tools to work in the water and sanitation sector. So makes sense because credit is financing only. So this can be possible. Second, it is a global initiative launched under the aegis of World Health Organization and the World Bank. Okay, now we can apply our funda that international organizations are mostly mentioned wrong. So this statement I am not taking as correct. Otherwise also, if there are such leading initiative are launched by leading institutions such as WHO and World Bank, it must have been in our current affairs. And if we are not gone through this, this does not make sense. Third one, it aims to enable the poor people to meet their water needs without depending on subsidies. So this is removing the dependence on subsidy by giving credit. So this is in coherence to water credit. So that is why this statement will be taken as correct. This statement, second statement is taken as negative, and first statement is taken as correct. So applying these logics, we can arrive at an answer that is option number C. That is 1 and 3 only. Now go back and do the homework that which initiative, which institution had given this initiative, so that that institution can be asked directly in upcoming exams. Now going forward, we can go for question number 17. That is, here we will learn that elimination tricks can backfire as well. How so? ये देखते हैं अभी कि elimination tricks अभी backfire कैसे कर सकती है. That is, why is there a concern about copper smelting plants? Now if we go by our trick that there is a generic statement, it must be taken as right. That is, they may release lethal quantities of carbon monoxide into environment. Okay, there is an option of may release. So even if a certain reaction can release quantities of carbon monoxide, it may be taken as right. However, here also UPSC had mentioned lethal as a keyword. So by our understanding, we can take this statement as right. However, second statement, the copper slag can cause. So if it's saying can cause leaching of some heavy metals, this makes sense to understand because copper smelting is a polluting activity. Third one, they may release a sulfur dioxide as a pollutant. Of course, there is a chance that sulfur dioxide may be taken as a pollutant and may be released by copper smelting plants. So I will take this statement as right. However, this statement, the first statement, was wrong because it does not release lethal quantities of carbon monoxide, and that is why UPSC had made the B option as correct. And by our understanding, we could have marked, or we would have marked, option D as correct, as from our tricks all three statements were sounding right, but they were not right. Understood? So apply your tricks by some pinch of salt. That is why I am saying this is not a 100% sure shot way that these tricks work all the time, but there might be some areas, some questions there they may face limitations. Now let's move on to question number 18. Here, with reference to furnace oil, so the furnace oil is the keyword. There are some statements mentioned. First, it is a product of oil refineries. Okay, it is something coming from the furnace and it is an oil. So might be this statement, I'll take it as right. Some industries are using it to generate power. Even if there is one small industry which may be generating power, it may be taken as right. So generic statement, we are taking it as right. Third, its use causes sulfur emissions into environment. Might be because it is a byproduct of oil refineries and it may cause sulfur emissions into environment. So I will take this statement as right, as refining activity is itself a polluting activity. So that is why my answer becomes D, that is 1, 2 and 3 only. तो जब भी कोई जेनेरिक स्टेटमेंट आता है ऐसे कि देयर इज अ प्रोडक्ट ऑफ सम इंडस्ट्रीज कैन गो, इट मे कॉज सल्फर emission into environment, yes, it is possible. It is very difficult to deny this statement that it does not cause any pollution. So that is why हम इस बार D टिक कर रहे हैं. Now let's go for question number 24th. Here there is a reference to New York Declaration on Forests, right? And question is asking which of the following statements are correct. Now just because this was elimination option, there was a scope of elimination, this made our job easy despite of this organization was not in news that year. Okay, so the first statement, it was first endorsed at United Nations Climate Summit in 2014. I don't know. Second one, it may endorse a global timeline to end the loss of forests. I don't know. However, there is a third statement which says it is legally binding international declaration. So it is highly unlikely. ये काफी मुश्किल है होना कि there is a legally binding international declaration and यूपीएससी के सिलेबस में हमने अब तक कभी नहीं पढ़ा है. It is very difficult that we have not gone through it. So that is why I am taking this statement as wrong. Fourth one, it is endorsed by governments, companies and indigenous communities. Might be possible, right? Because it is very difficult that they won't endorse such a noble initiative. And fifth one, India was one of the signatories of at its inception. So this statement gave me a clear way that this was a wrong option, because if India was a signatory, I would have known about it. Either we could have gone through in our reading of syllabus or at least reading of current affairs, and that was not the case. So for me, option 3 and 5 were incorrect options, and this made my job easy because I eliminated 3 including options like B, C, and 5 including options, that is D, and I arrived at a correct option, that is A, 1, 2 and 4. So even if you don't know the option, the correct option, or do not have the correct information, you had the chance to arrive at an answer. Similarly, here in question number 25, magnetite particles, okay, suspected to cause neurodegenerative problems are generated as pollutants from which of the following? We can see that there is a excessive focus on pollutants in this paper. Here, brakes of motor vehicles, okay, by friction it might be. Engines of motor vehicles, possible that most of the pollutants are generated from engines of motor vehicles and it is very difficult to deny. Third, microwave stoves within homes, might be possible just because there is a inner lining, inner films which is produced, and it is a it uses electromagnetic rays and which may cause magnetite particles. Power plants, it might be it might be a byproduct of power plants. But there is a fifth option, that is telephone lines. So telephone lines are mostly under soil and telephone lines are already covered. They do not show any movement like brakes or engines, or they do not show any generation of any activity, that is like power plants or microwave stores. So telephone lines, it was very uncommon that they may cause polluting. Okay, they may cause pollution, it was very unlikely. So that is why I eliminated this option, that is fifth of telephone lines, and that is how I arrived at the option 1, 2 and 4, right? Now the next question that we can arrive is this, with reference to Sausat Yogini temple situated near Morena. Here it is a circular temple built during the reign of Kachchafagata dynasty. It is the only circular temple built in India. It was meant to promote the Vaishnava cult in the region, might be possible. Its design has given rise to a popular belief that it was the inspiration behind the Indian Parliament building. Okay, might be possible. However, here is the second statement which gives us the key. That is, it is the only circular temple. It is highly unlikely that in India there is only one temple that is circular. In some part or another, there might be another circular temple, and to negate this statement, we just need one circular temple other than this, and it is highly possible that somewhere there is another circular temple built in India. So that is why I eliminated option 2 and I arrived at option 1 and 4, that is option number C. Another case, that is this. Here we will see how your knowledge and understanding and applying logical awareness will help you. So यहाँ पे हम देखेंगे कि नॉलेज और लॉजिकल अवेयरनेस दोनों एक साथ कैसे काम करते हैं. सो मुझे नॉलेज थी कि ये इंडियन हड़प्पन साइट्स है. ओके, आई न्यू कि इनका मैपिंग में जगह कहाँ पे है. ओके, आई जस्ट नो दिस. नाउ here in ancient towns they have mentioned there is a water harvesting series of dams and there is a function of channelizing water into connected reservoirs. Now apply simple logic. Where would you require more dams? You would require more dams where there is a scarcity of water. Okay, just by this simple plain logic I arrived at the option Dholavira because Kalibangan is situated on a river, Rakhigadi is situated on a major river, Ropar is situated on the Bias river. So these things we can see, right? And Dholavira is in Gujarat. Although it was on the rivers of Luni river, banks of Luni river, still I said Dholavira is the most probable option because there might be some kind of water shortage. That is the only reason I marked Dholavira and that was the correct option. Comment down below which are the rivers where Kalibangan is situated and which of the river is Rakhigadi situated. Right? Now moving on to the next question. Here, according to Portuguese writer Nunes, the women in Vijayanagara Empire were expert in. Here I will take the help of Hindi translation. Wrestling I know might be possible. Astrology I know it might be possible. Accounting, of course, Vijayanagara is a progressive state and accounting might be allowed to women. So this is also possible. I don't know the meaning of soothsaying. Pardon my English, but I did not know. So that is why I went to the translation of Hindi and here it said Bhavishyavani. So जो भी भविष्यवाणी करता है, ज्योतिष शास्त्र and भविष्यवाणी were correlated. So whoever knows astrology might be involved in soothsaying. So due to this logic, I could arrive at an option 1, 2, 3 and 4. Otherwise, if I didn't know that soothsaying is an option, I would have marked A. But just due to presence of mind, I went to the Hindi translation and marked D as a correct option. So that was the correct option. Now, similarly, in question number 48, that is with reference to Indian history, which of the following statements is or are correct? The Nijamat of Arcot emerged out of Hyderabad state. Now, coincidentally, this is a Slumdog Millionaire type question of mine because I had a friend who was from Arcot and I knew that he was from Tamil Nadu. So it is very difficult that it had emerged from the Hyderabad state. So this is how your life experiences will come into picture. Second, the Mysore kingdom emerged out of Vijayanagara Empire. So this is a common knowledge and we can mark this as right. However, this leaves us with the option B and C. Now, in Rohilkhand kingdom was formed out of the territories occupied by Ahmad Shah Durrani. I did not know this statement, so that is why I arrived at 50-50. So your life experiences can help you arrive at an option of 50-50. Now, I would advise, even if you have eliminated each one of the options, take a guess and go ahead of others because now your chance of arriving at a correct option has improved from 1/4 to 1/2. And this is how you apply the common sense and logic. Similarly, in question number 49, Which of the following statements are correct? First, Ajanta cave lie in the gorge of Wagora river. Sanchi Stupa lies in the gorge of Chambal river. Pandulena caves shrines lie in the gorge of Narmada river. And D. Amravati Stupa lies in the gorge of Godavari river. Now, just because another experience of mine that I have visited Ajanta caves in my childhood, I knew this, it was a Wagora river. Even if you have not visited such a cave, you should know because Ajanta caves is a PYQ. Ajanta caves and Wagora river has been asked as a PYQ in previous years, right? But this also gives us hints to what UPSC is thinking of. We should be prepared for Pandulina caves in this year's paper, where it is situated, where the Amravati Stupa is situated, and where Sanchi Stupa is situated. Comment down below which are the rivers or gorges where these three things are situated, and it might be there in next year's paper or this year's paper, right? Now moving ahead, the question number 54, that is, with reference to India, Didwana, Kuchaman, Sargol, Khatu are the names of. So if you have ever been to northern India, you know there is a famous place known as Khatu Sham. So the place Khatu is situated in Rajasthan. So this denies glaciers, this denies mangrove areas. Now, you should know that Ramsar sites and saline lakes. So here Rajasthan may have both of these. However, we do know Ramsar sites and we have not come across any of such names in our Ramsar sites list, right? And that is the only reason I have marked D as a correct option, that is saline lakes. Otherwise also, this is a Slumdog Millionaire type of question for me because I had a friend who had a surname of Didwani and he was hailing from Rajasthan. So that also made this question easier for me to eliminate two options. Now moving ahead with question number 57. Among which of the following, which one is the least water efficient crop? Now by mistake I had read which of the following crops uses least amount of water. However, it was UPSC's grace that it had given options so close that I was unable to choose. Then I again read the question, that is, which is the least water efficient crop. That means it requires highest amount of water to grow, and this is how UPSC plays with you. It had boldened the least, but just due to options I was able to recoup and read the question again, and this made it very easy to mark sugarcane. This is just to show you how you can make mistake and how to avoid that. There is no elimination trick here, but just sharing my life experience here, right? Now moving ahead with the question number 65, that is, with respect to recent developments regarding recombinant vector vaccines, consider the following statements. Genetic engineering is applied in the development of these vaccines. It is a very common vaccine in news, and it is very difficult to deny that there is no genetic engineering applied. That is why I am taking this option as right. Bacteria and viruses are used as vectors. Now this was a time of COVID. This exam was held in October 2021 and everyone knew that Covishield is being produced as a part of, as a base of virus. That is why I considered virus as one of the legitimate option. And if viruses can be used, bacteria can also be used. And that is why I arrived at an option number C, that is both 1 and 2. Moving ahead with question number 72. This is a common sense question because here with reference to street lighting, how sodium lamps differ from LED lamps. Now sodium lamps are the old lamps where yellow light is produced, that I knew. Then these lights, sodium lamps, produce light in 360 degrees, but it is not so in the case of LED lamps, which is true because LED lamps face only one side and give light to that side only. However, sodium lamps can act as a 360-degree mechanism. As street lights, sodium lamps have longer lifespan than LED lamps. This statement does not make much sense, because if that would have been the case, we would not have preferred LED lamps or sodium lamps. So I would take this statement as a wrong statement. Then a spectrum of visible light from sodium lamps is almost monochromatic, while LED lamps offer significant color advantages in street lighting. This is true because LEDs can be of different colors and we are all aware of it. Therefore, this answer of this question becomes option C, that is 1 and 3 only. Similarly, going ahead, we can see the question number 83, that is, with reference to India, consider the following statements. When a prisoner makes out a sufficient case, parole cannot be denied to such prisoner because it becomes a matter of his or her right. The statements becomes very far-fetched, because if this becomes the general case and parole cannot be denied because it is said a matter of his right, this may create a very complicated situation for Indian criminal justice system, because then it would be very difficult to deny such parole to the hardened criminals. Therefore, this statement I took it as wrong. Second, state governments have their own prisoners release on parole rule. This is possible because prisons is a state subject. That is why I took this statement as right. And this is known because police and prisons are both state subjects as per the 7th schedule. And that is why I had taken option B as a correct option. Similarly, now let's move on to somewhat complicated question. That is question number 87. Which one of the following best defines? Now UPSC is asking you to arrive at a best definition. Here, if we look at the options, they are very similarly placed, and it might be becoming overwhelming for people to read and understand the differences. So this is where I need you to slow down. यहाँ पे थोड़ा धीरे चलना है एंड हर स्टेटमेंट पे एक कीवर्ड पकड़ना है जहां पे यूपीएससी खेल सकती है, राइट? You need to identify a keyword where UPSC can play with you. So first statement, a community of persons permanently occupying a definite territory independent of external control, right, and having an organized government. Second, a politically organized people of definite territory possessing an authority to govern them, maintain law and order, and protect their natural rights and safeguard their means of sustenance. A number of persons who have been living in a definite territory for a very long time with their own culture, tradition, and government. And D, a society permanently living in a definite territory with central authority and an executive responsible to central authority and independent judiciary. Now, these are the criteria for responsible government, and this does not mean it should be a state itself. Independent judiciary is a feature of federal government. Therefore, there can be a state without an independent judiciary. There can be a state without executive being responsible to central authority. So this option is straight away eliminated. Now, moving to again reading the option A, that is, it says independent of external control. This is known as sovereignty, and sovereignty is an integral part of state. So option A is bookmarked. Option B says, okay, first three things are okay, but protect their natural rights and safeguard their means of sustenance. This becomes little questionable because means of sustenance is not something we can define very well, and it is not a core responsibility of state which defines it. That is why I would deny this option B. Now coming to option A and C, I was very confused among these two options. Whereas we see here the keyword used is very long time. A number of persons who have been living in a definite territory for a very long time. Then only it would be defined as state. So this becomes very difficult because there is no necessity for staying for a very long time. there can be displaced people as well who found their own state, right? We can see at an example of Israel as well. So there, this was the only reason Israel again helped me, like in 2023, to arrive at a correct option in option A, right? Little complex question, but requires your full attention and understanding, right? Now moving ahead with question 90. Here, which one of the following factors constitutes the best safeguard of liberty? So who will safeguard the liberty? A committed judiciary? Of course not. Centralization of powers would actually take up your liberty. So this is also getting wrong. Third one, elected government. Okay, these two are the options where we would think. So does elected government only, right, safeguards the liberty? That is not necessary. If there is an elected government but there are some excesses by that government and there is no judiciary to protect you, it will not safeguard the liberty. So what we need to have is best safeguard. So separation of powers is a very strong statement, because separation of power gives you independence of executive, judiciary and legislature. So here there is a separate judiciary apart from the executive to safeguard your liberty. So this is why option D becomes right. Now what we learned from these two questions, that is 87 and 90, that we do not need to choose what is correct, we need to choose what is more correct, that is best safeguard or best defines. So go for the most accurate option, right? Now moving ahead with question number 94. Similarly, constitutional government. This was a direct PYQ. There is a multiple times repetition by UPSC about constitutional government, and this got a direct answer from government limited by the terms of the constitution. That is what we call as limited government. Okay, right? Now moving to the 100th question, which was easier one for me because I have been a fan of cricket, and it was around this time the ICC World Test Championship was being held. So here there were questions, the finalists were decided by the number of matches they won. I knew this because this was a Slumdog Millionaire type of question. I exactly knew the criteria for the finalist. New Zealand was ranked ahead of England because it won more matches than England. Of course, it was not right because there was a proportionate point system depending on the series you play, and there was a home and away advantage as well. So this is what made me tick option D. So your Slumdog Millionaire type of life experiences will help you more in such type of papers. Comparatively, this paper was little difficult, and I would say that such papers need to have a lesser attempt. Now we can go back and see one question, which was question number 50, because I want some exercise for you. Here, question number 50. 21st February is declared to be the International Mother Language Day by UNICEF. Okay, why would UNICEF be involved in declaring Mother Language Day? Because UNICEF is a organization related to children, and we have our funda that most of the times UPSC has mentioned wrong organizations. We already saw this in water credit question. And the demand for Bangla has to be one of the national languages was raised in Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. This is possible because Constituent Assembly of Pakistan, when it was held, the Bangladesh was a part of Pakistan as East Pakistan. So this makes a logical sense. Now I took statement 1 as negative and statement 2 as positive. So that made me arrive at an answer option B, that is 2 only. There is a homework for you. Do tell me in comment section which of the organization which declared International Mother Language Day, right? This is how we can analyze 2021 paper, and you can also go through papers of 2022 and 2023 in our other videos. If you are liking the work we are doing, please leave a comment and also like this video. This will help. Thank you for watching, and let's meet in the next video.